want to welcome you to the Ask Jeff YouTube channel. Here's today's question. If you were a Nazarite, how did you celebrate Passover if you could not take the fruit of the vine? Now, when we say Nazarite, we're not talking Nazarene, as in Nazareth, Jesus of Nazareth. A Nazarite was a very specific calling that people would enter into their lives in the Old Testament. Now, we know the most famous one as Samson. But Samson's a unique one because he was actually called to be a Nazarite from his conception, from his birth. The call was actually done vicariously through his parents. But in the book of Numbers, chapter 6, it says that any man or any woman could so choose to be a Nazarite. Now, very simply, there were three aspects of being a Nazarite. You were not to eat anything of the grape. We would typically think wine or alcohol, but you weren't even to eat something of the grape. You were not to consume anything from a dead animal or that which had died, and you were not to cut your hair. And so the big question is, how would a Nazarite celebrate the Passover? I mean, after all, during the Passover, there are certain things that you would do that would, quote, violate, i.e., what you would eat. So it's a great question. Here's what's interesting. That in the book of Numbers and in other places in your Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, there's actually a provision because you weren't allowed to touch anything that was dead as a Nazarite. Well, Passover, if someone had buried a relative that within the days of Passover, they were not considered clean to celebrate Passover. Probably the greatest example of this is Joseph of Arimathea and Nicodemus in John chapter 19. They buried the body of Jesus. Well, that was Passover. They would have not been qualified to do so. Well, how would they have been qualified? That's where it gets really interesting. There's actually 2 layers. In the case of Nicodemus or Joseph of Arimathea, simply burying a body, they would have had to wait 7 days. In the case of a Nazarite, because of their vows, really interesting, they could actually celebrate the Passover 30 days later if they so desired, and the taking of the elements would not have violated their Nazarite vow. Now, last but not least, a Nazarite could have said, you know what, I'm so into Passover, my family's coming in. They could have, shall we say, renounced the vow, shaved their head, enjoyed Passover, and returned to the vow the next week. That's one of the interesting things about a Nazarite. It was not a one time and it's all the time. You could come and go. It was kind of a season of dedication. Here's what I love about it as I close. That there's not this over legalistic perspective from the Lord. In other words, if you want to celebrate Passover, go for it. If you want to wait 30 days, it's fine. Their relationship with God and even their dedication to the Lord did not alter because they chose to celebrate Passover, wait or not at all. Great question. If you have one, send it to askjeff.net and maybe your question will be tomorrow's. Thanks for being a part of today's daily question. Now, we answer a question each and every day. Please feel free to submit a new question at askjeff.net. We may not have gotten to yours today, but we eventually will continue to be a part of this. Subscribe so you don't miss out on a question every day.